I'm Jerry James Stone and you're watching Cooking Stone. In today's episode, I'm going to make this amazing, I think I used the word amazing probably too much, but it is amazing, I swear. So it's an amazing boozy cherry cobbler. Now, before I get started, I just want to note that a lot of times when I eat out, it feels like restaurants don't maybe know the difference between a cobbler and a crisp. And so I just want to share that with you really quickly. So a cobbler tends to be something that's, it's kind of deep, where it's almost like a pot pie. It's like a fruit pot pie. You know, traditionally with just a crust over the top, or cobbles, if you will. I mean, it's like a biscuit topping, whereas a crisp is much thinner, and the actual topping for a crisp is maybe like oatmeal. It's not as hearty as you would get with a cobbler. So just keep that in mind. I see this mistake all the time. This is going to be a cobbler recipe, a boozy cherry cobbler recipe, and I think you're going to love it. So the first thing you want to do here is pit these cherries. Now, pitting cherries is quite messy. You don't need a fancy tool like this. You could actually just use a straw. You can use a screwdriver. You just want to push that cherry pit out through. So if you have something like this, you don't put the whole cherry in it. Just hold it over. Take your bowl here. As you can see, it looks like looks like a scene from a horror movie. Put your cherry over it and just kind of push that pit through. Now, that's all it takes, and then there it is. And this process takes forever, but you know what? When you're making a cherry cobbler, in all honesty, fresh cherries are the best. It's just, they're much more flavorful. Especially what I'm going to do with it, I'm going to poach them in some wine first, so it just absorbs that flavor a lot more than frozen cherries. I know I'm being a bit of a food snob here by saying that, but use fresh cherries. Plus, they're in season. Their peak cherry season is mid-July, with cherries. So, they're going to be fresh and tasty. No reason to use frozen ones. So you just, hang out, watch some Hulu and pit some cherries, and then make this recipe. So let's add in our 1 cup of brown sugar and our star anise. And we're going to add a large orange peel. Now we're going to add in a tablespoon of cornstarch. And we're going to add 1 cup of red wine. And we're just going to bring this to a boil and then let it cook until the liquid begins to thicken and the cherries are nice and tender and soft. Now we're going to make our cobbler topping. Starting with 1 cup of flour, we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of sugar, and this is a mix of brown sugar and regular cane sugar. We need our baking powder, our 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and now 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and just kind of mix that together. Now we're going to cut in 5 tablespoons of butter. You want the butter to be cold, that's really important. Just using this little tool here, you can use a fork, whatever, just kind of mash the butter in and work it into this flour mixture so that it ends up looking kind of like, it'll sort of look like cornmeal when you're done with it, once you've kind of broken up all the butter in there. Now that the butter is cut in there nicely. It's not, you don't need it to be perfect here. I mean, this is going to be a cobbler topping, so the more bumpy and crumbly and imperfect it looks, actually the more makes it look more perfect, if that makes any sense at all. So now we're going to mix in our yogurt. So what I have here is a 1/3 cup of Greek yogurt that's been mixed with just a tablespoon of milk to thin it out. We're going to add that to our dry ingredients here for the cobbler. And now we're going to fold the Greek yogurt into the dry ingredients. Now, this is really important. You don't want to overwork this. You don't want it to be, if you overwork it, it's going to be tough, and you don't want that. So just work it in there as it starts to kind of ball up. And this is what's going to make our topping. So now we're going to go ahead and make the cobbler. The first thing I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to add about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar to my cherries. Now this is just to provide some acidity, it'll really complement the wine and the star anise and all that stuff. So it's just not gonna add a ton of flavor, it's just gonna sort of round it out a bit. So just kind of add that in and mix in the cherries. And now I'm gonna add my cherries to my pan. You wanna make sure that you pull out the star anise and the orange peels before you do this. You do not wanna bake those into this. Oh, there's one right there. Make sure you remove that stuff. So just add those to your pan. Smells so good. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just add on the cobbler topping. Like I said, imperfection is what you want here. Just kind of spread it out. Doesn't have to be uniform or pretty. In fact, the less pretty, the better, and the tastier for some reason. I don't know, like nice sloppy cobbler with all these lovely biscuit things on top just looks so gorgeous to me. I don't know, just me. You can do it however you want. This is how I'm doing it. It's my video. Now I'm just gonna bake this for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees. I think it's about ready. Let's pull this out of here. Oh yeah, that looks pretty freaking good. How tasty is that?